Hey, Phoenix, how's it going, man? How are you?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I got to be honest with you. I'm excited to chat with you today because, it occurred to me as I was getting ready for this Zoom with you that, over the course of my radio career and for as many times as I've played Linkin Park, I've never had a chance to talk to or interview anybody from the band in like 30 years in radio. So,
No way.
yeah, I'm really excited for this.
All right. Well, this could go one of two ways, Mike. Either it'll be the best thing ever or so disappointing that you'll wish you'd never you'd wish you'd never talked to any of us.
I'm gonna go with the
Usually
I'm gonna go with the former Phoenix, and it's gonna be pretty
I
awesome. Just the fact
I'm
that you're
gonna
here.
I'm gonna aim for the former, but I probably have a track record of the latter.
No, no, come on. Well, today's a big
Yeah.
day because the deluxe sets of Meteora are out in stores today, and I have to be honest with you. To me, it's almost hard to fathom that the album is 20 years old already because I remember playing those songs when they were brand new and singles. So I wonder if that's how I feel. How does that feel for you having that album celebrate such a milestone?
It, I would be lying if I didn't say that a part of it makes me feel very old. A part of me a part of me still feels like I might be 20, and to have an album that's 20 just means that I my thought process couldn't be further from the truth. But I think it's incredible, and not only is it exciting to me that that Meteora is at its 20th anniversary, but just that we still have fans that are so awesome that are still excited about it, and have been so supportive and great with the release of Lost,
Mm-hmm.
um, the single with the album, and with everything else. That is not lost on me. That is special, and I think our fan base. I mean, I can't say enough about how much I appreciate that.
Phoenix, I'm glad you mentioned fans right out of the gate because as I had watched the video that you officially released for Lost on YouTube, I got done watching it and then I scrolled through some of the comments and it struck me as really interesting how many fans really are protective of you guys and the band and are passionate about you and the band and are really plugged in. I saw comment after comment about fans saying that Linkin Park got me through this or got me through a certain period of their life or that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, that's really powerful. That really has to resonate with you and the rest of the band, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think we've always had a really close relationship with our fan base from the very beginning with Hybrid Theory. I think we've always been a band that really wanted to connect with people. I think the group of us, me individually and everybody else, I think has a different version of the same story. But music for me was always something that was a positive outlet for me to be able to kind of escape to and put myself into and kind of like clear my head. I was a classically trained violinist starting when I was 5 or 6 years old. And so that just, it's not very rock and roll, but me playing violin in my room by myself for hours was a really positive outlet for a lot of crappy stuff that was kind of swirling around me
Mm-hmm.
growing up. And I think all of us just felt like we wanted to make music in that kind of a lens that connects with people and communicates um, in some way or another, it kind of in that space. And oddly, I think instead of a community of fans, we've kind of found or created like a community of peers in that sense. And the Linkin Park community not only is protective of us, but they're protective of each other in a really cool way. That there's so many stories of incredible friendships of people from different corners of the globe. But what they have in common is kind of a love and a connection with music, and that might be intertwined with Linkin Park, but also in other spaces as well. But there's a community there that it's unique. It's tough to describe, but it's special, and I think it's unique, and I think it's really positive, and it's very cool.
So today is the big day that the box sets come out. There is a limited edition super deluxe box set. I love how long that name is.
Super deluxe, limited edition, super deluxe,
super radical awesomeness deluxe. I mean, that's not the official title, but it's got, you know, unreleased tracks, B-sides, demos, live shows, a ton of stuff on it. One of those unreleased tracks was Lost, and I've read that Lost was actually completely done. Ironic too, by the way, that it's called Lost when it's kind of a quote unquote lost track. Shinoda has described it as finding an old photograph that you had forgotten about. I'm just curious to know your take on that, sifting through some of that material and then finding this track. And I'm also curious to know how come it was left off in the first place, because quite honestly, it's a really good song, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So this song, yeah. And again, no pun intended about it being lost. That's just
it just worked out that way.
The dumbest or best of coincidences. But this track, it made it through the entire process of the album. So, you know, like fans who really know their stuff know that we probably write upwards of 70, 80, sometimes 100 songs for an album. But by the time we get in the studio, we might take 15 in, and after, you know, of that, maybe 12 make the record. And this was a song that made it into the studio, was recorded with Don Gilmore, was mixed by Andy Wallace, you know, went through the entire process, mastered, whatever. And at the end of it, we really kind of just felt like it sat a little too close to, I think it was Numb and Breaking the Habit. And we were seeing those two songs as kind of pillars of the album that we were building around. And so this one felt, it was just kind of saying, like, it was sitting in the same lane. And so it was easy for us to then say, well, we still love this song. It's going to be awesome to have something that we can use in a different space, whether that's like, at that point, you know, we had learned the hard way that Japan likes to have, you know, exclusive content for their B-sides for their albums. And with Hybrid Theory, we had not known that. And then we were struggling to figure out, like, oh crap, now we got to do a special release that we don't have anything in the vault for. And then we, you know, have a TV show or a movie or something that needs a song and you don't have anything that's like unheard. We figured, we learned our lesson on Hybrid Theory. Let's hold something back and we'll easily find a cool spot for this to live. And then in the process, we kind of just never did. And we forgot that we didn't forget the song. We just forgot that it hadn't been used or hadn't been heard or hadn't been released.
Right.
And so when it came time, you know, maybe I'd say at this point, maybe 18 months ago, year and a half ago or so, when we started looking at, like, do we want to do something for Meteora, you know, being a 20th anniversary? What do we have? What could we do? When we started digging into stuff, we found Lost and kind of went, I think Mike had found it and just went to management and said, hey, there's this track. Like, did we ever use this? And they kind of came back and said, no, like, nobody's heard that. Like, that's never been used. And so it was this weird gift of, well, crap, we have a song that we haven't even heard for 20 years, let alone anybody else. Like, it's kind of this bizarre little gift to find. And it made a ton of sense just to include it, obviously, in this celebration of Meteora that is all things Meteora you could ever ask for is in this package.
You know, talking about that previously unreleased song Lost, it's amazing how for a song that's 20 years old still sounds kind of contemporary to me, you know, that it literally fits right in with what today's sound is like. Do you agree?
You know, I think it sounds, I'd say, like, it sounds like it definitely fits with everything else on Meteora, which I think that's really
100%.
cool. And that's exciting. 100%. Because a lot of times, like, the demos, you'll hear demos from an album, but they didn't go through the entire process. You know, they didn't get recorded in the studio. They were more like in writing studios or in different spaces in different places. So it doesn't have the same texture as what it, you know, a song that's finished with the album would have. Right. Yeah. So I think Lost, like that aspect of it sounding like, obviously you could swap it in and out on something on Meteora and you'd never notice sonically, you know, that, oh, this is a little jarring because it's not mastered the same way, or it's not mixed by the same guy, or it's like recorded on different gear, whatever. Any and all that stuff doesn't exist. It sounds like it fits on Meteora, and hopefully because of that, you know, our goal one of our overarching goals with anything we're doing musically is like, let's try to have something that hopefully for us, we can come back to in 5, 10, 20, etc., a number of years and still have it sound cool to us. Like it's almost that approach of let's hope. You can't always hit it, and we definitely don't always hit the mark, but let's hope we can come back to it and not have any regrets,
Right.
you know, with a song or with an album or with how it sounds. And so, you know, yeah, for you to say that, I think is an awesome compliment. I love hearing it, that it sounds like it still could be current.
Not blowing smoke. I'm just being honest, Phoenix. That's to me in my ears what I hear. I'm curious, and I apologize if I ask this and it kind of, you know, brings up some memories. But I'm curious to know, what was it like going through all of that stuff, B-sides, demos, and, you know, live shows and unreleased stuff? Like, what kind of emotions did that bring up? And if anything, did it spark any specific memories of that time for you?
Yeah, it definitely did. And I think what I might have, or I think in any sense that any guy in the band might have in common with the fan base in that regard, is that there is this element of almost conflicting emotions with all that kind of stuff. In one sense, it's so fun to go back and watch some of that kind of behind the scenes footage, to go back and listen to the music, both released and unreleased. The behind the scenes stuff in particular, I watched with my daughters. I've got 15, 14, and 11-year-old girls, and, you know, they're loving it. Just our bad jokes, and I mean, they're loving it to make fun of us.
Well, of course, that's what they do. That's what I'm a parent too, so I totally get that.
Yeah, so which is great, and to see us, like, in a sense, like as kids having fun, figuring out what we're doing on the road, and that process of being a band and figuring out your career. And I think for me, even hearing like Lost and not having heard it for 20 years, that it's so awesome to hear Chester's voice in a space that I'd kind of forgotten that song in a weird way. And obviously always loved his voice, and it's so special to hear it, and especially cool to hear it on something that feels almost new. And at the same time, the conflict is because it's also, you know, bums me out, makes me sad, makes me miss him that much more. And you know, there's that other side of the coin. So I think our fans, they share a lot of that same sentiment to different degrees, but there's the mix of being excited to hear it and the mix of like kind of just missing Chester.
Phoenix, I'm curious, since you mentioned your kids, do they understand the gravity of that album Meteora and the landmark that it is, celebrating that 20th anniversary? Do you think they get that? I know your fan base does, but I'm curious to know if they do.
I think it's a good question. It's complicated because they understand. They've got a weird relationship with it, in that they understand that it was, you know, a huge album, and they understand that like what their dad did is not normal and is special, kind of a cool thing to be a part of. But at the same time, they see me every day, and they don't see me as anything other than.
They don't see the rock star, do they?
No, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to admit, but it's impossible to keep up the rock star mystique in your own home. So they're very face to face with their dad, and all of my, for better and for worse, all of my good points and bad points.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it's grounding. They know that dad's not always crushing it when it comes to being a quote unquote rock star. They see me. The joke I always used to make was like, day one of when I come back from tour, I'm usually outside picking up all the dog poops that haven't been picked up. And it's a good return back to it's a good return back to reality. As a dad and someone who has a dog, I totally can relate there. So that, you know, again, it's today that it's coming out, 20th anniversary. There's the limited edition super deluxe set. There's the deluxe vinyl box set that has 4 LPs. Now, Mike has mentioned in a couple interviews I saw that, you know,
touring is off the table at this point, but he's kind of alluded to the fact that maybe new music down the road is not unrealistic. Do you guys ever throw ideas back and forth, whether it's email each other, like, stuff here and there? How active are you guys in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, the best answer I could give is like, I think that we will do something again at some point. I think we'll do, hopefully new music. And I think I would love to play some shows.
Yeah. We just got to be careful not to get people all hyped up, right? Saying that.
Yeah. Well, the reality of it is that the timetable, I have no idea what that is or what that looks like. And we're not trying or haven't made any progress towards doing it. So it's just to say, like, the relationship in the band is still intact between all the guys, and we're still in communication, but everybody's always at different kind of spaces, and the amount of earth that needs to be moved to begin the construction project of Linkin Park and whatever that may look like is a ton, and it's not going anywhere fast. So,
and I can imagine that it was probably a super deluxe heavy lift just to get these, anniversary issues of Meteora out, let alone trying to get that lift of, a live show off the ground and a tour. That's a humongous undertaking, especially these days.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's just kind of a wait and see. I know that's not what that's not the answer that anybody wants, because it's not even really any information. But at the same time, I think like it's just kind of honestly where it's at. And
yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how you navigate your fan base, given how passionate they are about the band, and trying to say that, yes, we'd kind of like to put out new music. Yes, we'd kind of like to tour, but we've got to just figure it all out. That's got to be a tough thing to navigate for you guys.
It is. At the same time, I always feel more than anything like supported, and I feel like positive energy from our fan base. And I think that that's like what shines through a lot more than anything else. And going back even 20 years to Meteora, I think we learned really early to try not to make promises that we couldn't keep, with 100% certainty.
Sure.
Because the fan base will latch onto something and just be like that's that you said it,
right?
You said it. And then so like after the fact, I think we did this with Chester famously did this with Minutes to Midnight, where he said at one point, and early on in the writing process for that record, he said this will be the heaviest, like most metal record we've ever done. And then in the process of the year and a half or however crazy amount of time we took to end up writing that album changed 10 different times.
Sure.
By the time it came released, people were like, some people pockets that had taken that as a promise were so upset that obviously Minutes to Midnight is not the heaviest or most metal record we've ever done. But it was just like this blowback from that, where we got to be a little careful of what we say, because things change all the time, and in reality, unless it's on sale, unless there's a release date, unless there's a calendar that you can go to online, we don't ever have any certainty of what we're doing. So, and even sometimes when there is a release date or whatever else, we still don't know what we're doing.
Well, today being a release date for the anniversary editions, whether it's the deluxe vinyl or the limited edition super deluxe, is there something on that is your personal favorite, whether it's a B-side or a live show or a demo? Is there something specific on one of these that's your personal favorite?
It's not necessarily a specific, but a favorite of mine of the package on the super uber monster deluxe,
awesome, killer deluxe.
Everything killer, all you can eat special.
Yeah.
One of the things I really actually appreciated about it is that there's 3 different live concerts that you can see or that are captured, that are on the DVDs. And in the process of watching those, you can see the progression that the band does in the course of the 2 years that's like the Meteora touring cycle. And you can see the progression from like theater venues into one of them is it was a stadium show that we did with Metallica. And you can, for me, going back and looking at that, like I can see the growth, not only in what we're presenting visually, but the growth of the, like the set list, and then also how we're presenting like the live performance. And I see it as growth. Hopefully everybody will see it as a improvement of us figuring out what does our live show look like? What is it like for us to headline proper, global tours? What is that? There's a lot of like nuts and bolts that you got to figure out to do that. And you can watch it if you're interested in the course of those 3 shows. You can see how that kind of like comes to life.
Is that the same tour that Shinoda mentioned? You guys were the first band to prank Metallica.
I think so. I don't know if that's awesome. True. I know we've said that. I don't know if it's true that we're.
No. It's true.
But it's a great story.
Yeah, let's just go with it's true because it's a great story.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I think I don't know. I think if I remember correctly, that was actually one of like Metallica's crew guys that told us that we were the first. And maybe Mike already even did a better job explaining it though. But in that world, for us to head to do a prank to them at the end of the tour, they have to like okay it. So they don't know what's coming, but they've at least said cool. It's okay for these guys.
Yeah.
We like them and trust them enough that it's okay, with the stage security and everything else, that you guys can let them do whatever it is they may do.
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, Phoenix. It's been a great chat with you. Finally, 20 years later, I had a chance to, chat with you about Meteora and Linkin Park. And I'll get you out of here on this before I let you go. How's your golf game these days? I know you're an avid golfer.
I do play quite a bit, probably too much. But there's a lot of potential. We'll say that. Anyone who plays enough golf, I think anyone who plays enough golf knows that you can only love it to a point, and then you start to hate it.
Yeah.
There's a part of golf that makes you hate yourself. But in talking to my buddies, I play with a handful of guys who, are great players and on tour. The joke is always like, you got to try to stay positive. And so it's just like, it might not be where you want it at all times, but there's a lot of potential. Lots of potential in the game right now. Yeah,
I am not at all a golfer, but if I ever have time to catch up with you in person, mini golf all the way, my man. Mini golf all the way. I might be able to hang with you there.
Mini golf's actually a lot more fun. There's a lot less frustration in that world. Yeah.
Well, congratulations today on the release of the anniversary editions, the limited edition super deluxe set, the deluxe vinyl set. It's a milestone. Congratulations, and I'm really loving Lost, man. It's cool that you got it out to the fans and to us here in radio. It's really awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate all your guys' support. And Mike, let's do it again before 20 years from now.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So it's not 20 years.
Either that or 2043. We've got a date in the calendar.
All right, man. I love it. I'm going to hold you to that, just like all of your fans do. I'm 100% going to hold you to that.
You said
it. That's right.
You said at the 40th anniversary of Meteora, you would do.
I'm putting it in my smartphone right now, dude.
There you go.
Thanks so much for your time today, Phoenix.
All right. Thank you. Yep. Good chatting with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.